Hello and welcome to race 3 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. It's season 11 and we are here in Jeddah for the very first time. We're here in Saudi Arabia under the lights, and in a few moments time free practice 1 will be getting underway. 22 drivers are getting primed and ready, but it has been a dramatic start to the season so far, kicking off in Sao Paulo and then heading to Mexico City. It's Antonio Felix da Costa who sits on top after picking up back-to-back second place finishes. He's on 37 points. Oliver Rowland is behind him on 25. He was last time's race winner. Mitch Evans, won in Sao Paulo, is also on 25 points. And Pascal Wehrlein, the defending champion, is in 4th at the moment. Then we've got the 3 Brits, Taylor Barnard, Jake Dennis, Sam Bird. But what stands out the most is Jaguar TCS driver Nick Cassidy is pointless coming here in Jeddah. We can see some of those drivers. Lucas di Grassi, a seasoned Formula E driver, also sitting down on 0 points. But if we look at the team standing, it's Tag Heuer Porsche right at the top there on 58, continuing their dominance, with Neon McLaren showing great pace second in the standings. Jaguar TCS Racing, though, not far behind. Now, this is when things get particularly interesting, because in the Manufacturers' Championship, we have Porsche just 1 point ahead of Nissan. The McLaren team and Nissan are working together at the moment to really put Porsche through their paces. Well, we've got so much excitement here in Jeddah, including the excitement that these 3 are going to bring. We have former Formula E and Formula 1 driver Karun Chandhok, we have Katie Munnings, XE and E1 driver, and we have 13-time F1 winner DC. Guys, welcome. This is the first time we're in Jeddah. This is really exciting. We've been to Saudi Arabia so many times. It's a proper favourite on the calendar, but that was in Riyadh. Now we are in Jeddah, a new circuit, lots of new challenges.
For drivers to go and try new circuits. We've got a few chicanes here, which are going to be a bit challenging, I think, with the race, especially when the pack are bunched together. But on the whole, the layout looks like we should have some good overtaking opportunities and generally some decent racing.
And it's nice to race under the lights, isn't it, Katie? I mean, it's a very different scenario. It feels, for us, it's like a balmy, a light breeze. It's a really nice evening. But racing at night time brings a whole set of challenges for these drivers.
Yeah, it's really calm, it's peaceful at the minute, but I don't think that's what's going to happen at all when the racing gets underway tomorrow night especially. There's so many new things going on. We've been talking about some of them earlier with the pit boost and the attack mode and how that's playing out this year. I think we're going to have a really exciting couple of nights here.
DC, let's talk about going into FP1 at the moment, because everyone's eyes at the moment are on 2 drivers that we've mentioned. Antonio Felix da Costa, who is on flying form. Everything seemed to kind of click into place from the back of sort of halfway through last season. And then Oliver Rowland, he's won 2 of the last 4 races because he finished last season on the top spot.
Yeah, 2 very different sort of packages in physical size and personalities, but both experienced guys who are delivering. And I think that's absolutely key, as we've seen from previous years in Formula E. Anyone who can consistently keep bringing home the points will be in a position to fight for the championship.
Yeah, Mr. Consistent is a name I think we used to give to the likes of Lucas di Grassi, but he's right down at the bottom and can't even compete against his new teammate. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's been a really tough start of the season for him. I mean, Jaguar on the whole had a terrible weekend in Mexico, didn't they? No score for both drivers, but he's got to get his campaign up and running. Let's remember, 12 months ago he won in Saudi Arabia. I know it's a different circuit, but hopefully this weekend will be the chance for him to kickstart his campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a pointless race for Jaguar last time out, but hopefully the tide will change. Let's go to our commentators now. Tom Brooks in commentary.
Thank you very much indeed. The end of pit lane then, free practice 1 gets underway under the floodlights here in Jeddah for the very first time. We've been coming to Saudi Arabia since 2018 and racing at night since 2021, but now is our first time on the west coast, the Corniche as it's known, right by the Red Sea, and the drivers are heading out onto the track for the first time here today. We had rookie free practice earlier on, so the team's cars have been out, or at least 11 of them have earlier on here this evening, but now we see all 22 of our full-time full-time Formula E drivers making their way onto the circuit. Very excited to see what is going to happen, and you can see our virtual race engineer thinks the track already offers good grip. If you remember back 12 months ago to Diriyah when we got free practice 1 underway, because of the nature of that circuit not being a permanent facility, it was incredibly dusty, and we spent about half of free practice 1 with the drivers clearing the circuit. No such problems though here tonight in Jeddah. And as Nicky mentioned earlier on, of course, it is Antonio Felix da Costa who leads the Drivers' Championship. Despite having not won a race, it's his consistency. 2 second-place finishes so far in Season 11 that has kept him at the top of the order. Some 12 points in front of Oliver Rowland, the man who went on to take victory in emphatic style in Mexico City just a month or so ago. Very excited to see what is going to happen under the floodlights here this weekend. This is our first chance, though, to see the drivers out on track at this Jeddah Corniche circuit. This is down at turn 13. It's the normal final corner on the Formula 1 layout of this circuit, but it's the sort of final sector really for the drivers, because there's a couple of chicanes left to run. It's also where attack mode will be activated down at that long left-hander of turn 13. Delighted to be joined in the commentary box by Karun Chandok, and also making his debut this season, David Coulthard. David, great to have you in the commentary box. We were out on the Jeddah circuit just a handful of moments ago. What did you make of it?
Well, I think it's the classic thing where television doesn't do justice sometimes to just how tight and challenging some of these chicanes are. The so-called bus stop section as well has some fairly brutal curbs there, which is going to mean the drivers have to be, you know, absolutely positioned in the positioning of the car, which the other, like say the last 2 chicanes at the end of the lap, they've got more space.
Race director there. Just going on to tell the drivers about a full course yellow. So this is a normal procedure during free practice 1 that we do, just to make sure the teams and the drivers can all hear the communications clearly from the FIA at all points around the circuit. Karun, it's going to be an interesting challenge for the drivers. We were at Diriyah, of course, for a good number of years. This, though, is a very different circuit in Saudi Arabia.
It is. You know, the Diriyah circuit was a very flowing circuit.
Yes, the team radio there for the drivers, just making sure that yeah, they can, as I said, hear everything. Now that the green flag flies, we get running back underway.
Yeah, the Diriyah circuit was a very flowing circuit, wasn't it? A lot of high-speed corners. Really, you had that section from turn 2 till turn 16 where the steering wheel was never really straight. See Pascal Wehrlein here. What's happened to him? He's come around. Oh, he's side by side.
A bit tight there with
the Natto.
It was Oliver Rowland.
Oh, it was Rowland, yeah.
Yeah, with the Nissan, so just going around the outside. This is down to turn 13, as I said, where attack mode will be activated. And, well, we're only in FP1 here, boys. Close quarters, though.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, this is a very different circuit. It's a bit more stop-start. You know, these chicanes are sort of breaks up the straights on either side of the lake, really, that's sitting in the middle there. So, yeah, you know, it's going to put a lot of emphasis on braking stability and traction.
I have a bit of a brake split right front, about 150 to 200 degrees hotter.
So the team radio there for Nick Cassidy, just chatting to his race engineer. This is the final chicane on the circuit. Quite tight and twisty, the last couple of chicanes that break up this start-finish rate. You can see a relatively short run then to the checkered flag. See drivers now just beginning to weave, building a bit of temperature into the tyres. A softer compound for the drivers in Season 11 with Gen 3 Evo. Of course, 4-wheel drive in attack mode as well. And we've got a new variance to add into the mix here this weekend of pit boost. There's a driver that's just gone off there. That's down at turn 4 by the looks of things. Couldn't quite see exactly who that was, but you can see a yellow flag there down on the circuit in the first sector.
Cleared off now, Tom.
Yeah.
I think it tells me something from the end of my career. Whenever I see a yellow flag, I assume it's me.
So, into, this is the bus stop section.
Yeah, look at those curbs, actually. They've got to be really precise through that section.
Yeah, it's pretty vicious, isn't it? And, you know, you've got the slightly lower steel blue and white curves, but then actually, if you misjudge it and you get on the higher grey part, that's what will spit the car completely off its trajectory. So, yeah, the driver's got to be careful. But, you know, this is where they've got today and free practice 2 tomorrow morning to just build up their confidence and make it count when it matters in qualifying.
Yeah, drivers now, as you can see, just building themselves up for their first sort of flying runs in this session, just weaving across the track to get temperature into the tyres, make sure that everything's at the correct operating window before they go for their first representative flying laps in this session. In terms of rookie-free practice times, we were down in sort of the high 116s there and thereabouts in the session, so we should be expecting times to be a little bit quicker than that, given the experience that these drivers have got. But already that was a promising start to pace here at this Jeddah Corniche circuit. Looking here at Norman Nato, been a difficult rebirth, I should say, back into the Nissan team race for them back in 2023 in season 9, and hasn't particularly been that fortuitous so far. Only 13th in Mexico last time out, and he'll be hoping for a bit of a turnaround in fortunes, especially given the fact that there's going to be an opening at Nissan later on this season at Berlin, because Nato will be off doing World Endurance Championship duties, and we believe that there'll be another driver in that seat of Sergio Sette Camara. He's the strongly rumoured hotshot who was at ERT in season 10, and well, you've got to be on your A game, especially when there's another driver hopping into your car.
Yeah, it's another pressure, isn't it? You know, take the opportunity to go off and race another championship, but you could well show the team that the maybe younger Charger is worthy of the seat full time.
So obviously, Tom, last year we had quite a few drivers who missed the Berlin round, didn't they? But, do you believe that's going to be the case again this year?
No, I think it's less likely to be the case. I know that quite a few drivers have actually got priority in Formula E now over this. I think there's only going to be a couple that will be missing it, but I'm sure that will all come out in the wash a little bit later. Just over 32 minutes left of this session. Let's head down to Saunders CB, who makes his debut on the broadcast in season 11. Saunders, great to have you back. You're down at the Lola garage, and you've got a bit of an update for us, I believe, about the penalties that they're going to be serving this weekend, especially for Lucas Di Grassi.
I have indeed, yeah. First bit of news for the weekend being that there is a 20-place grid penalty, not just for Di Grassi, but also for Zane Maloney. So both the Lola cars that will have to deal with that penalty, mainly being because, well, to put it frankly, they broke the seals on the E-motors, on the MGU, which I guess is something that means that once you've broken the seals, you can't prove whether you used it or not, or something along those lines. But yeah, first bit of news for the weekend, not good news for the Lola cars. Gentlemen, discuss.
Yeah, not ideal at all there for the Lola team. It's been, it's always going to be a bit of a challenge for them. Of course, they were with the Apt outfit. Apt have been in Formula E for a good number of years now, but a new partnership for them with Lola and for Yamaha, and it's not been the most competitive outfit. Of course, it's a bit of a development year for them as they get themselves up to speed and acquainted with the Formula E category. But yeah, non-ideal start to the season at all for Di Grassi and Maloney, and they'll be hoping to make as strong a possible result as they can this weekend and put it behind them, really. So just going down in towards this section of the circuit. This is the first sector through turns 5, 6 and then 7. We're beginning to ramp up quite a fair bit of speed now. You see a driver's eye view from Sebastian Buemi. Incredibly smooth at different points on this circuit, but you can see the curbs that you were mentioning there, DC. They're treacherous to those who flirt beyond the edge of danger.
Yeah, I guess it just throws another little challenge on what is a fairly open street circuit in many areas of the track. They've all been very disciplined through the rookie test, through what we're seeing here in these opening laps of free practice. Can that continue the entire weekend when the red mist of racing comes? I doubt it.
Yeah, it's the track surface is super smooth here. It's, you know, I think you don't really see cars bobbing around. It's when they get into the curves that suddenly you have to look at compliance. But Buemi a bit deep there in the last chicane. He was a bit, yeah, just a little bit greedy on the entry, and that's put him down in 5th place at the moment.
Yeah, down towards that first and second corner complex. You can see it's quite tight through there, and it's going to really bottleneck up, especially at the start of a race. I mean, if you look to Formula 1 Grand Prix at this circuit, it's been particularly tight and twisty and has caused a fair smattering of contact. Just in the garage here with Pascal Wehrlein. So they're putting another set of Hankook tyres on that Tag Heuer Porsche. Wehrlein having not set a representative time in this session, down in 22nd and last place at the moment. So if you're new to Formula E, welcome along. It's great to have you here and joining us for the very first time. In Formula E, drivers only get 2 sets of tyres over the course of the weekend. Such is the way that we try to promote sustainability within the sport. So they've got to be quite careful about how they use it, and they'll be trying out different run plans over the course of the practice sessions, and especially as we head into qualifying to get the most out of the car performance. Looking here at Jean-Eric Verne, 7th fastest for him in the DS Penske. Slight lock-up, though, getting in towards the bus stop chicane.
But you don't see that so often, do you? The sort of under-rotation that we just saw there from Jean-Eric Vergne. So as he explores the limit of the group.
So one of the big talking points this weekend coming into it, DC, is the fact that we've got pit boost on the game for the first time. And essentially what that is drivers are going to have to come in the first race, make a pit stop, they'll plug the car in, they'll get 10% more worth of energy in the race after being stationary for just over 30 seconds. And, well, there's an interesting element of strategy that now comes into Formula E, because we've not had pit stops since the Gen 1 days, you know, talking 10 years ago. Karun, when you were back in the car, yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? So how do you think that that's going to change up the racing? What do you think the teams, the drivers, are going to have to do to prepare themselves for this new element?
Well, I'm sure they've run many...
aggressive on initial throttle. My traction and drivability is not there. I want something more smoother, more easy.
Well, very clear, struggling for drivability. So engineers will go and look at the data and see if they can reward the driver with a bit more performance. But I think the actual pit boost, initially they've tested it out of season to make sure all the systems work. So they'll have a first sort of read of how that played out in a full circuit test with all the teams. They'll have run thousands of simulations to what is, in an ideal world, the best time to do it. But of course, meanwhile, back in the real world of racing, you can have safety cars, incidents, accidents, come out at the wrong time behind a car with an issue, and you know, there's the pit out. It's just there. You could end up losing time all the way through this section.
Yeah, this is going in towards the hairpin. So we're going to ride on board here with Antonio Felix da Costa as he makes his way through this first sector. You can see flicking it left and then right through turns 5, 6 and then 7. Very blind and unsighted, and when you get caught behind a bit of traffic, not ideal. And da Costa quite clearly remonstrating with the driver that held him up as he heads into the bus stop there.
Again, you know, the car, it's McLaren, isn't it? It's Sam Bird. He's waving his arm out.
It looks like it, yeah.
And now he's aboard to the lap himself. So, yeah, well, it is tricky around here because none of the straights are actually straight. So, yeah, it's a lot of blind spots there for the drivers to be able to see in their mirrors, and they're going to have to rely on the engineers to be keeping an eye on the GPS systems and just giving them a heads up if there's quick cars coming, as Roland goes to the top of the times with an 18.1.
But you can never, as a race engineer, second guess when someone might lift out of a lap for positioning. But with the GPS tracking, you can see whether the gap is closing, and you can look at the sectors as well. So there should never be an excuse where two cars are fighting over the same piece of tarmac in free practice.
Well, Cooper Kiro have had a challenging start to season 11 of Formula E. New partnership with them, with the new Porsche powertrain in that machine. New owners as well. Let's head down to Saunders, who's catching up with team principal Alex Wee.
Thanks, Tom. Let's start by talking about feelings on the season going in so far, because we've got a brand new circuit this weekend, things like pit boost coming on. Does that give you confidence that there might be a chance to shake things up a little bit?
Yes, obviously, we have a new partnership with Porsche this year. For the team, it's a new car to learn, new software, new car. We are the only team basically swapping the manufacturer's supply. It used to be our own things, and now we work Porsche. So with a very limited testing in Jarama and then 2 race weekend, we try our best to learn the car as quick as possible. Huge fans from Porsche, they are really helpful. So hopefully this week is the first doubleheader. We got more track time. We also got Epi0 to gain additional track times with the rookie. Mikel did a good job this morning. A few hours ago. So we hope to making a bigger progress with this weekend.
So of course we've got pit boost coming into play tomorrow. What do you think that might do for your chances within a race? Does it really mix things up where you suddenly have extra opportunities to maximise your points?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to create extra opportunities for everyone. It's going to create more uncertainty. We try our best to prepare all the scenario. Obviously, it's the first goal for everyone. There could be surprise in swinging in the good side or bad side, but you know, we try to do a lot of practice for the boost. We try to consider a lot of different scenarios with the strategy. So let's see.
Other exciting news for the team, of course, introducing Idris Elba into the squad. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that's a very cool thing. Honestly, personally, I'm really proud to be part of the journey. Obviously, with the new Kiro ownership change, there have been a plan of some, you know, our investor has a good contact of celebrities, some really high-profile investor, and a few of them joining us. And you know, this is a really exciting moment for us, and a lot of pressure to the team, but in a positive way. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you to Saunders there as well. Yeah, exciting times for the Cupra Kiro team. Currently sitting 10th in the team standings, 4 points in front of the Lola Yamaha outfit. But customer Porsche powertrained for them for season 11. Made good forward progress actually in terms of where they were compared to season 10. So we hope for them continuing that trajectory as the season develops on. Now here is Jake Hughes, pole position in Diriyah in Saudi Arabia in his debut season back in 2023. So a happy hunting ground is Saudi Arabia. You can see he's on an attack lap though at the moment. The magenta lights behind the rear wheels indicating that he's in full power, and also he's got four-wheel drive traction. So as he gets a bit of a swapper on there into the chicane.
Probably didn't cost him that much time in terms of positioning. Nice cat-like reactions there as he takes advantage of the extra power and grip.
He's not hanging around, is he?
No,
so
visibly you can see it eject off the corner.
Absolutely, and you see the purple lights there flashing bright as he does a 16.6. So that's now starting to bring us in line with what we saw from Kushmani this morning, or earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're heading, as you say, right down towards that same sort of lap time, and definitely a bit more time left on the board, courtesy of that moment for Hughes. Now, here is Mitch Evans in the Jaguar pit box. This is a pit boost test, as it were, in this free practice session. So you can see the driver comes into the box, comes to a stop for 34 seconds, cable is plugged in, they get an extra 10% worth of energy in the race. Now that will only be happening in the race tomorrow on Friday. For Saturday we're running the same distance, still 31 laps, but no pit stops. So as you said, strategy is going to be pretty important. And also we were thinking that there is a possibility some drivers and teams might be at a bit of a disadvantage if they're closer towards the end of the pit lane, such as the way that the rules are set out, because the driver that's in the fast lane coming down the pit lane has priority.
Yeah, I saw when I was in the pit lane earlier that initially it was only Porsche, but thereafter all the other teams have put out little markers which are a sort of reference for the lollipop man, where if the car coming in the pit lane hasn't reached that point, then in theory there should be enough acceleration reaction time to get out and not be impeding and therefore get a penalty.
On board here then with Jake Dennis, he's just been told to get lots of heat into the brakes and the tyres on this flying lap. Do you know, it's been a year since he last won the Formula E race. It was 12 months ago in Diriyah, the last time we saw the Season 9 champion on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it's a weird couple of years, isn't it? Where the year before he was the epitome of consistency, really. He had such a great run of podiums and won the championship. And then last year, they had some awful qualifyings where they were, down outside the top 15 sometimes, and just, it just didn't seem to come together for him to defend the title.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because again, in Diriyah, that was a great example. It was a double-header weekend. The first race, he went and, won that by a commanding margin. On the second race, on the Sunday, he was nowhere. He was right towards the back of the field. So he was struggling with feeling on the brakes, as we understand it, last year, and he's definitely made a step forward in terms of performance. But yeah, we still haven't seen him, as I said, on the top step for a fair amount of time. There's a bit of a traffic jam going on here down the DS Pensy garage between Max Günther, who I think wants to go back into the box, and Jean-Eric Vergne, who was doing a pit boost practice in the lane.
Yeah, there's a bit of confusion there, I think, isn't it?
Is there anything in the regulations that stops the mechanics from being able to put the car up in a little dolly trolley and wheel it into the garage rather than three-point tunneling it?
No, I don't believe there is. No, not in a practice session, certainly.
Not to the best of my knowledge, at least. Let's have a look here at Mitch Evans, just making his way down through turns 13. So that long, lazy left-hander right up to the wall on the outside. Coming into qualify, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how much drivers are going to be pushing the limits, and if any are going to go beyond. We're quite fortunate the circuit's quite wide here, but it does punish mistakes. We've seen that in Formula 1 qualifying. Max Verstappen famously threw away one of possibly the greatest pole positions we may have seen in the sport by clipping the wall on the outside of that corner.
Yep, but fortune favours the brave, and on these type of circuits, as you get dialed in towards qualifying, you've just got to narrow the margins and kiss the wall.
Look at this, more confusion down at Jaguar there as well. So Nick Cassidy stopping in the box, and Mitch Evans just coming in behind. Just as an FYI for those who perhaps aren't as quite as up to speed on pit boost as some of the others, when teams have to make these pit stops, there's a pit window that will open basically when the battery is between 60 and 40% state of charge in the race. Then the teams can call it, and they can only pit one car per team per time. So there will be a priority that's made and a call that has to be made within the team. We're obviously at a point of the season, David, where it's quite early on. There's no championship battles to worry about at this particular point in the season. So how do you deal with that from an inter-team dynamic?
Yeah, as you say, it's way too early to have a clear number one in the team, and you therefore have to react to what's the best opportunity for the lead driver on that day in history. And you know, they may make that decision armed with the information you have, and then 5 laps later you get a safety car, and it turns out to have been a terrible decision. But that's the nature of racing.
Yeah, but I think, you know, the window for pitting is between 60 to 40% of the state of charge, which means somewhere in the middle of the race. The reality is in Formula E, with the way the attack mode works and the way the slipstreaming works, track position in that phase doesn't mean, it's not the be all and end all. You know, you could still be outside the top 10 in that phase of the race and come through to win. We've seen it happen on a number of occasions, including in Brazil at the start of this season. So, yeah, I think it'll be fun to see, and it will jumble up the order in the middle part of the race. But ultimately, you've still got to drive the most efficient race. Efficiency and being smart with the battery and using and recovering the energy in the best way possible will still be the way to win this motor race. It's not going to be defined by the strategy.
And there's nothing in the rules that says drivers have to come in to do their pit boost stops and then they can use attack mode. They can use it at any point they like throughout the course of the race. So you may see drivers using the attack mode earlier, then coming into pit, then maybe using their second attack mode deployment. Or you may have a driver who decides to wait, do their attack modes later on in the race in the hope that they can make up progress if the field is bunched up. There's so many simulations and calculations the teams would have been dealing with, not only here but also back at their bases as well. So it's a constant state of involvement and a million different scenarios that they'll have been preparing for.
Some of the longer corners, at 13 especially, I'm like, again, kind of getting okay, trying not to load the car too much, and then it still like snaps around in the round. Just.
So Mitch Evans there, not happy with the balance of his car. We heard Nick Cassidy also not particularly pleased with some throttle-related issues with his car earlier on in the session as well. So a bit of adjustment to do for the Jaguar TCS racing team. Driver's eye view here of Pascal Wehrlein, 4th in the championship. Is the season 10, the reigning world champion. You can see just 21 championship points compared to his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa, who sits on 37. Of course, a challenging opening weekend of season 11 for Pascal Wehrlein, where he ended up on his roof in quite spectacular fashion after contact with Nick Cassidy at the Sao Paulo circuit, costing him the chance of any points. There's Florian Modlinger just watching on, team principal for Tag Heuer Porsche as well.
So Wehrlein, of course, in attack mode at the moment, so you can see his sector times coming up, and see there's an investigation for pit boost infringement. That's the 2 Penske cars. I wonder if it's through them parking side by side in the pit lane that we saw earlier on in that bit of confusion. So the stewards will be having a word with the team manager, but let's look at Wehrlein first. Last chicane, and he is coming out of there. His first 2 sectors were good, and the last sector as well is good enough to take him to the top of the times. In fact, best of anybody in the last sector.
Yeah, handy
Roland.
Yeah, handy lap time from both Roland and Wehrlein then, as Oliver Roland goes to the top of the pile, riding the crest of a wave he is with that Nissan team at the moment, fresh off the back of that victory in Mexico City. Just saw Gunter exiting the pit lane. Here's his former car that's now being driven by Jake Hughes for Maserati MSG. You can see what Jake is going to be able to do. Podium for him in at season 10, finally able to get the monkey off his back, but he's moved over to Maserati, new powertrain, new team, new environment for him to adapt to. What's it like, David, when you're changing teams? You were at McLaren for a good number of years, changed over to Red Bull. You've got to learn everything again, I guess, to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think it's more, let's say there's more similarities in Formula E between the actual functionality of, let's say, the cockpit and the controls thereafter for the driver. Of course, the drivetrains, power units is something that you need to get used to, and software and how the engineers work. But performance is the thing that's at the foremost of any driver's mind, engineer's mind. So there's a commonality with all the teams, which is they all want to go quick. And that focus is a common language, which makes it a lot easier.
And we talked about the relationship between driver and engineer.
Maybe we could go
that one moment.
a little bit softer on the front bar, if you like.
So a softer front bar. You're going to explain, Karun, in detail what that feels like in...
Well, I think essentially they're looking to pick up some more front grip, and you've got a lot of these slow corners, these chicanes where you need to change direction, and if you can just get a bit more compliance on the curves and just a bit more rotation with the front end, that's going to pick up some lap time. So I presume that's what he's looking for.
Will there be a trade-off with that? You know, you have to pick up more front end, therefore you're going to lose X or Y as a result of it.
You inevitably lose the rear, you know, because you get to a point where you'll overload the front and the rear will snap. So that's often, we use the word balance so much, don't we? It's about balancing the front and the rear of the car.
Pit boost practice then for Tag Heuer Porsche, Antonio Felix da Costa. We just saw him in the box with his team, just doing a quick preparation. This is Nick de Vries coming through the attack mode zone. There are 3 loops the driver has to hit going through there in order to activate it. If you remember back to London at the end of season 10, Mitch Evans famously missed his chance of attack mode, and it potentially cost him the World Championship as a result of that. You've got to make sure that you're hitting your marks pretty consistently. Thankfully, at this circuit, quite wide, and especially that final few corners, good chance to be able to do so. So the two Envisions out on track. Sebastian Buemi in a full attack mode, push lap, 4-wheel drive traction for him now as well. You can see just how much more planted the car looks, especially coming through these slower corners. Traction out of it, a lot less slippery and slidey than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, it must just be a fantastic feeling. Suddenly you're getting pulled out of the corner as well as pushed out of the corner. You're just getting much more traction. And what limited experience I have of driving 4-wheel drive vehicles, it makes you feel quite talented.
Yeah, Buemi making his way then through into the chicane. So we're coming down into the final sort of 10 minutes then of this session. And this is sort of the real reference session, as it were, for the drivers, because as we head into free practice 2 tomorrow, it takes place at 1 p.m. local time, which is obviously a lot earlier in the day compared to where we are now. It's just about to turn 9:30 in the evening, so conditions will be a lot hotter. As a result of that, generally we find that the first practice session has a bit more relevance in terms of track temperatures and so on and so forth. Anyway, let's head down to Saunders, who's just over 10 minutes to go of the session. Saunders, what are you doing? Who's with you?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I'm here in the Nissan garage with Tommaso Volpe. Looking at the timings right now on the screen over the other side of the pit lane, Oliver Rowland, top of the timesheet. A reflection of the last few races, if not the last few races of the season before. The man's on fire.
Yeah, of course, we are on fire, the team as well, in the car. But definitely Oliver is putting together, is in a very great shape. But just first laps of free practice 1, so let's see in the race.
It's interesting when you think about, historically, the success within Gen 3. It's very much always talking about Jaguar power, Porsche power, but now it's Nissan power. It seems like you have everything to bring the fight to them, if not go one step further.
Well, I don't know one step further, but definitely we want to disturb their plans, ruin their plans possibly, but being the fight in a credible way.
Okay, let's talk about this weekend, because obviously we have the debut of Pit Boost. Feels like it's going to be a very big change to potential strategy. Attack mode going really well for you guys so far. Do you think you could capitalize on another strategy change?
Well, the Pit Boost, I think, will be a steep learning curve for everyone. So hopefully we master it since the first race, but I wouldn't be surprised if some teams that might be not considered among the best might surprise everyone else, because they find a way to use it better than others, because again, it's a very steep learning curve, and we all have a lot to learn. So we hope that we have done a very good preparation and everything will go well. So we will achieve a good result, but fingers crossed, let's see tomorrow.
But in terms of result, doing what you did in Mexico, you'll be a happy man.
Well, now we set the bar there, so we want to be at least on the podium every single race, but we know that it's motorsport, the competition is very aggressive, and it will be difficult to be always up there, but definitely this is how we start every single weekend, with this objective.
Thanks, Tommaso.
Thank you.
Thanks to Tommaso, thanks to Saunders there as well. 25 points for Nissan in season 11 so far, all of them courtesy of the victory from Oliver Rowland last time out in Mexico. If you remember back to the opening round of the season back in December, Ollie very unlucky to miss out on the chance of fighting for the victory courtesy of a technical infringement for the Nissan-powered team. This man here, Norman Natter, goes to the top of the pile, but is pointless so far in the standings. He'll be able to reverse his fortunes and get a strong result for that team as well. We look here at Jean-Eric Verne, former double champion, sitting in the DS Penske pit box, ready to go out on track for his final run in the session. Lap times now coming down thick and fast, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the team are trying to find a gap in the traffic a little bit. So they've sent him out, just looking to try and get him a little bit of clear space for the final 8 minutes.
Yeah, it does get quite congested, especially in the tight final sectors where you've got those two chicanes. There's a good possibility we could see a few drivers getting infringed, as it were, on their flying lap times, especially in the group stages of qualifying.
Yeah, that's one of the frustrations, isn't it, of any street circuit, even one like this, which is, let's say, wider in a lot of the areas and it's got some runoff. There tends to be one line, especially through the chicanes, and if anyone's, dilly-dallying, it doesn't matter if they get a penalty, you've lost your lap time, and it affects you that way. So it takes a bit of compliance from all and understanding, and you would think this early in the season, you don't really want to be upsetting anybody by deliberately getting in their way.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Beckman and Ticktum do here, Tom, because they've got the Porsche powertrain, which we've talked about, so many times this season being the benchmark. So, a bit surprising to see them down in 20th and 22nd. So, clearly a bit of work to be done there.
Yeah, it is a customer Porsche powertrain, just to remind everybody as well, though. It's not quite the same spec as the ones that the Works teams have and Andretti have, so there is a possibility that it's maybe lacking a bit of performance, but certainly I agree that they should be, there we go, fighting further up the order as Beckman, right on cue, goes into 10th fastest.
Yeah, you will, of course. The Works team will always want to make sure that they've got whatever the latest and greatest is, but in terms of trying to quantify what the difference could be in terms of that power unit that they have, we've got to be talking hundreds. It cannot be tenths of a second.
Yeah.
Why would you buy it otherwise?
Yeah, and surely they're the same as Andretti, don't they? They're a customer.
It's a very good point. So it's not quite the same as I understand it. I think the software that Andretti have will be the same as the Works Porsche team, and then the one that Cupra has will be a couple of steps behind, essentially, is the way that it works. So perhaps they've got a little bit less efficiency compared to the Works teams, but as you say, certainly it shouldn't be tenths, it should be hundreds, you would imagine.
Also, if I was Porsche, I'd want to give all of them an opportunity to go and outperform each other. I wouldn't be trying to hold them back in any way, shape or form. Your badge is on the performance.
Well, and surely as Tickton goes 6th fastest, if you can have 6 of your cars in the top 10, that's it's better to knock the competition backwards. So. But what do we know, DC?
We'll not try and count up the years of racing experience we have.
Good to see Nick Cassidy finally getting into the groove of things as well. He's just gone up into 8th fastest at the moment. If you'd said to me at the end of last season that Cassidy would be paired with me.
I have the sound again on the rear right.
Understood.
Mexico.
In right in corners, yeah?
Yes.
She's got some sort of a noise coming from the rear right.
Yeah.
Really.
I don't know if it could be powertrain or drive shaft related or something along the lines of that for Antonio Felix da Costa. We'll wait and see what that's all about. But as just going back to my earlier point about Nick Cassidy, nice to see him getting into the group. As I say, if you'd said to me that he was going to be pointless at the end of last season, coming into 2 rounds into season 11, I'd have said you were crazy, because his form last year was incredible.
Well, he and Roland were arguably the best two drivers of last season, and neither of them ended up winning the championship. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, Roland has carried on that form and is delivering very well for Nissan. But you're absolutely right. Cassidy, so far this season, it just hasn't happened for him.
No. What's it like when you get yourself into a bit of a rut like that, David? How do you pull yourself out of it? I mean, if you look at Antonio Felix da Costa, for example, he was in that same position last year, pointless until we got to Mazzano, and then he just went off and cleaned up.
Yeah, I remember being at Mazzano, and all the talk was he getting replaced? You know, how were his days numbered? And here he is leading the championship. So you've just got to focus on what it is, you know, the skills that got you there. You've got to look with your engineer to understand, like, irrespective of what your teammate's doing, what do you need from the car to go faster? And it reminds me very often of the simplicity of thought of Adrian Newey, one of the greatest designers in Formula One, where when everyone stopped the talking, he'd say, right, what do you need to go faster? And it really focuses your mind on, well, I need you know, more traction, or I need more front end. You just keep it simple.
It's a good philosophy for life, that really, isn't it? To be honest. Van Dorn goes up into 20th fastest then. Da Costa just getting stuck behind the Andretti at the moment. Andretti on a push lap, and Da Costa just beginning to build himself up for a fly. So this is coming in towards the final chicane.
He's going to have to wait a bit longer. There's lots of traffic coming up behind him, but I think he might now get a gap. There's his teammate Pascal Wehrlein there. So does that indicate that Costa's going to have a go in attack mode? No, he's still in the race mode at the moment.
Well, he's still got a couple of chances left to do. We've got just under 3 minutes left of the session. Let's head down to Saunders for one final time then in this session. Taylor Barnard currently 5th in the Drivers' Championship, Sam Bird 7th, and Saunders is catching up with team principal for Neil McLaren, Ian James.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, a pretty good start to the season so far for Team Neil McLaren. But now let's talk Jeddah. What are your expectations for this circuit? Brand new, lots of new changes.
I think it's a good start in Sao Paulo. Mexico, not so much. So we've made some changes in our approach for this weekend, and it means that we're coming in with a good deal of confidence given the performance of the Nissan Power Unit as well. But as we can see here from the times in FP1, still some performance to find.
We saw Taylor's kind of prowess in the rookie test last season, and obviously covering as well for a few races. Seems to have taken to it very quickly.
Yeah, and listen, we had that great opportunity to see him develop as our reserve and development driver. And then, you know, with Sam's incident, put him in the car in Monaco, and then, of course, in Berlin. And he just has ticked every box all the way. So, you know, very excited to see what he can bring in the future. And together with Sam, I think they're a potent combination.
Well said. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks to Saunders. Great start to his full-time Formula E career. Taylor Barnard substituted for Sam Bird after he ended up injuring himself in Monaco last year. Put in 2 great performances both in that round and in Berlin a couple of weeks later. Got himself onto the podium in Sao Paulo. Not as brilliant of a weekend in Mexico City a month or so ago, but again, great start to the young driver's career. Just 19 years of age, Taylor Barnard, so plenty of time for him to mature and develop as he continues adapting to Formula E.
Yeah, this is the great thing about sport. If you're good enough, you're old enough, and if you get the opportunity and seize it with both hands, then a team will love you for it. So, bright future ahead.
Sam Bird just making his way then through turn 4. This is the other Neil McLaren, and Bird, the oldest driver on the Formula E grid, whereas Barnard is the youngest driver on the Formula E grid. So they could actually get an accolade this season of both being either the oldest or the youngest winners in Formula E.
Yeah, actually, I couldn't help but notice their team pictures above their garages really sort of exaggerates that age gap. You know, one looking absolutely fresh-faced and the other one looking like he's been around the racetrack a few times.
Here's where you'll be in 20 years' time if you carry on like that.
Yeah.
So Bird just making his way through that turn 13 long hairpin. You just saw him coming up on the back of one of the Envisions there. Really blind, actually. It's a long run from the exit of the bus stop, turn 11, all the way down to turn 13. Turn 12 is technically marked as a corner, but it isn't really because you're flat out. But the point being, it's not a straight. You can't see what's coming. And as we have seen over the course of the weekend so far, drivers are very unsighted going through there, and there is a possibility that you may come up against a slow driver at the wrong point.
Yeah, well, that's again why communication with your engineers, a checker flag is waved. it's so important that they've got to be on it. They are your eyes and ears beyond the little vision you have out the aperture on your crash helmet.
So then checker flag is now out. Mitch Evans, personal best for him in the first and second sector in the Jaguar TCS racing car. What's it going to be as he comes across the timing line for the final time? Does he improve? I think he's going, in fact he does indeed improve, goes over the line then and ends up 8th fastest, just in front of teammate Nick Casti. Nato going second quickest, making it a Nissan 1-2 as well. Bird also improving up to 4th, Van Dorn up to 7th position there also. Still a fair few lap times to come in at the end of this one. You can see lots of drivers in the full power four-wheel drive attack mode at the moment, including this man here, former world champion Sebastian Buemi, through that chicane, kicking up a bit of dust on the apex of the corner, but comes across the timing line. It does the Swiss driver. Where does it put him as he exits out? Stays 18th fastest, loses a bit of time there in that final sector as it all concertinaed up. Gunter goes up to 9th quickest in the DS Penske there as well. Good session for him. And Tommaso Volpe, well, we heard from him earlier on the session, they need to get consistent podiums. That's the aim for that team in season 11. And a 1-2 finish for them at the end of free practice 1 is a very welcome sight indeed. Oliver Rowland there leading Norman Nato. It's only FP1, but it's a good start to the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, it is only FP1, but it's in a session that everyone else is taking part in the preparation towards trying to win this race, so everyone counts.
Absolutely. Norman Nato there, as we said, pointless so far.
I think it was a very good session to start with, so plenty of things to debrief down here, but good stuff.
Just hearing there from teammate Oliver Rowland at the end of that session, and hoping that Nato can break his ducks for points so far in season 11 as the drivers now get on with their practice starts. They line up on the grid. This is four-wheel drive traction away from the lights.
Yeah, this will feel fantastic. Look at that, visibly quick as they launch off the line.
Yeah, four-wheel drive traction's made a huge difference, and you can see actually as well, it's a bit cleaner on the right-hand side of the grid, at least further back, because that's the racing line trajectory as you come out of that final corner. It's a bit more dust actually on the left-hand side, which is where pole position will be. So I wonder what that will look like when we get into the race tomorrow.
Yeah, left of camera as we look at the screen, and that is all sort of virgin racetrack in many ways, other than the practice starts that are happening. Right of camera, where we line up here, is the natural racing line, and therefore will just be that little bit cleaner, and every little thing matters. Everything matters in motor racing.
Absolutely. Well, it's a double header in Jeddah. Loads of action to come over the next 2 days here in Saudi Arabia.
The way we turned it around last year was big. I am a true believer that tough times create tough people.
The new attack mode and the way the strategies go now is more towards like proper old school racing where you can kind of get a bit more stuck in, and I'm really enjoying it.
The combination of an experienced driver and a rookie fits well.
Working with Lucas has been great so far. Bringing my own youth and experience as well, and so far it's been a good dynamic.
The adrenaline is still inside me. It's a very successful test. Yeah, it was amazing.
So a nice busy session there to kick things off here in Jeddah in FP1. But it's Oliver Rowland. I mean, he's obviously continuing that momentum that we saw a couple of weeks ago in Mexico City, and he's back on top. So he must be feeling quietly confident. I know it's only FP1, but it's a nice place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, both Nissans as well, with Norman Nato just behind him. I think that's a great result for Norman as well. They're both going to be feeling really confident. Also, I think it is only FP1, but they're going to bed with that result tonight, and you always sleep a little bit better as a driver. I think if I'm going to bed and I know I've done well and I'm quick on track, it makes the next day getting to sleep for the race day a little bit easier. I don't really care what people say. I think that is true.
I love it. Okay, so they are going to be sleeping easy tonight, hopefully. And then Eden Mortara, I mean, a great result for him, and also Sam Bird in P4. Obviously, the McLaren powertrain has been looking good over the course of this season, and now they're fighting towards the top of the team standings.
Yeah, it was really interesting to listen to that interview with Ian James and hear what he was saying about they think they've kind of found a different tactic. We don't know what that was, whether that was strategy, set up, what it is, but he's got something up his sleeve for this weekend, so hopefully they can make a good result stick.
Yeah, well, we are standing very close to the, almost too close to the Kiro garage. And it has been recently announced this week that they have got a new member of the team. Not a new driver, no, a co-owner of their team. And, well, he's kind of trading in his Hollywood carpet and going to be coming to some race events instead. It is Idris Elba, and he went down and had a chat with the team. So what a brilliant, brilliant addition to the Formula E family. He is, of course, a Golden Globe winning actor. And so, yeah, he will no longer be saving the world on our screens as Luther, but instead he is going to be gracing us with his presence here, which is pretty cool, isn't it, for the Kiro
Very
team?
exciting.
Yeah.
Always cool to have celebs in the paddock.
And we love Idris Elba. He's come to quite a few of the races. He's been, like, clearly a follower of the sport for quite a few years. So it's lovely to have someone that is now involved of that kind of level of celebrity status that really does have a vested interest in the sport.
Yeah, and he said he pairs it with his passion for sustainability. And we know he does a lot for racing, and his initiative as well to help people from underprivileged backgrounds get into racing. He's really passionate about the sport, and I think it's very cool to see that filter all the way from grassroots all the way up to team ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will welcome you to your first race. Don't know if we can actually wander up the pit lane yet. Are all the cars in? Yes, they are. We're getting the thumbs up. We're not going to hopefully get run over. Nick, do you want to come and quickly just say hello? Oh, go on. Oh, he's run away. Okay. All right. Well, Nick's off. We'll see if we can hunt any of the other drivers. And perhaps we will go to Saunders and Karoon and see how they're doing.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, down here at Mahindra with Karoon. Let's talk about Mahindra in terms of trajectory, because things were really going in the right direction last season. Faster, points, then getting better and better. This season, pace is still there seemingly, but what about the races?
Well, we'll find out. They have definitely made a step forward. I mean, Edo Mortara last year, should have had arguably a podium in Tokyo. He got a penalty quite late on, I think. And so far, he's, again, shown some progress. They've started today really strongly, haven't they? Kushmaini fastest in FP1, or FP0, should we say, the rookie session. And then Edo third in FP1. So they've started on the right foot. He sounded positive. I just had a little chat with him there. So I think, De Vries down at 15th, bit of work to do on that side. But yeah, so far, I think they look like they're much more in contention.
What I'm really interested to see is for teams that maybe struggle with the efficiency competitiveness in the races, is what this is going to do to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I haven't actually seen the pit boost charger up close before. Probably shouldn't pick it up because it's flashing a light and doing something. But these chargers, the engineers from Fortescue who make them were telling me that they charge the car. They're going to charge about 600 kilowatts, 565 kilowatts to be precise. Let's give people some context, because when you go and plug into your wall charger at home, that's 22 kilowatts. This is nearly 600. And then at the services, even the fast chargers are generally charging your car, when you look at the dashboard, only at about 100 kilowatts, right?
The most I've ever had is 300. On a super we're talking double that capacity. It really does just change the game for the development of electric cars. I can't wait to the day that I can do a little boost in my own car and get 10% in. Well, think about it. If it's 10% in 30 seconds, that's 80% in, what, 4 minutes?
Good math.
Rapid. Yeah, so there we go. That's definitely something to think about when it comes to strategy, how that might change the game. Nikki, back to you.
Thanks very much, guys. Very interesting stuff. So we're here at Lowly Yamaha, who are a completely new team to season 11, and Zane Maloney is a rookie driver. But then on the other side of the garage, you've got Lucas Di Grassi, who is one of the most experienced Formula E drivers and that Season 3 champion. But the results have not been coming for Lucas at the moment. I mean, Zane did a really good job in the first race, bringing home a couple of points, but it's been a tricky start to the year. But would you say that is expected for a brand new team, DC?
Well, brand new name, but they're not an experienced group of people. And I think that all credit to Zane, because he's got one of the most experienced drivers, been around since the very beginning as a benchmark. But it's going to be a little bit worrying. And if we just look, I know it's only free practice, but they're both over a second away until we find out whether they had an issue or didn't manage to, take full advantage of the the full boost of energy. Then they've got to hope to improve their performance.
Let's bring him in. Thomas Biermeier, how are you? good to see you. Let's be formal and shake hands.
Personally, I'm fine. With
Personally,
performance, I'm not so happy,
excellent.
but the rest is good.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. What's the conversation going on in the garage at the moment? What can you share?
It was a difficult session for us. We are far away from top 8, so with both cars, so something is wrong on the setup side. So we have to check the data now and to see to improve the car for tomorrow. Clearly.
I mean, you've been involved in Formula E since the very beginning. You've seen it go through all the different iterations. How do you feel coming into, you know, a race like this, new circuit, relatively, well, one very new driver? How different is it from where we started?
I would say it's the same for all the teams because it's a new track, so it's a new track for everybody. Looks like that the others are a little bit better prepared compared to us, but it's clear because we are a new combination with Yamaha, with Lola, with Up together, so it's not easy. We expected it, that we are a little bit on the back foot in the first races or in the first weekends, but we have to fight, we have to work hard, we have to work a little bit more compared to the others and making improvements from weekend to weekend. This is our target.
And Zane Maloney's been doing a great job for you.
Sorry?
Zane Maloney's been doing a pretty good job.
Yes, for sure. It was not easy for him as a rookie, but next to Lucas is quite experienced, so he teaches him quite well, but he's doing a great job. So, and you will see in the future, he needs some more mileage, clearly, because there was not a lot of testing for us, but he will improve from weekend to weekend, and he's a good driver.
Just to share with our audience, when you say, you know, we must work harder, everybody works hard on this sport. This is not a sport where you're 9 to 5. So in terms of the information you have available to you now, taking this weekend, it's 2 races, so very important. What would you be encouraging your engineers and drivers to really focus on to get performance?
I think it's not only one area like setup. It's a combination of the software, of the systems, of the setup, about everything. So we have to look in all the details. And you're right, everybody is working quite hard, but we have to push our guys. Everybody is very motivated, and we have to see to make bigger steps compared to others. But it's not easy because competition is quite high here. But like I said, we will not give up. We have to check the data. We have to go more into the details, and when we see what will be the result tomorrow. But it will be difficult, clearly.
Yeah, well, it is still very much early days in terms of the season's championship, so good luck for this weekend.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it. Bye-bye.
Thomas Biermeier. Right, let's head to Saunders and Karoon. Who are you with?
So here we are outside Maserati, joined by Jake Hughes. Tell us about that. How was free practice 1 for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Car felt good from the get-go. I think we was towards the sharp end of the timesheet straight away from lap 1. And yeah, I was feeling pretty good. Didn't manage to get a 350 lap time on the board, but the track's challenging, let's say, to put a lap together. It feels quite like simple to get like within 2 or 3 tenths, but to find that last 2 or 3 tenths through those bus stop chicanes is quite tricky. And you know, the relationship between change of direction and curb ride is quite important, so we'll be diving into that tonight.
We saw you actually on one of the laps, I think quite early in the session, when you bounced off the curb and it sort of landed. I thought, oh, this could go wrong, but it landed in just the right way. Do you think that that is the challenge of qualifying, to try and hook the lap together, is to attack the curb and just kind of get the trajectory right on the landing?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of lap time from pushing the entry in those corners. At least that's what my steering wheel and engineer were telling me during the session. So yeah, the more you push, the more obviously lap time there is, but it's quite a rough ride, as you probably saw, and you can probably use it to your advantage a few times as well. So that sort of mindset going into that one critical lap at the end of qualifying to extract the most is, well, you're going to have to do that, yeah.
Okay, so talking of lap time, what's going to be the difference here when it comes to that all-wheel drive attack mode? How much are we going to be saving or gaining in that?
Well, I mean, roughly, I'd say around 2 seconds in peak lap time. Could be like plus or minus, give or take half a second, okay. Depending on how the track migrates, obviously. I think, you know, four-wheel drive is still so new for us. There's a lot of systems and software that goes into the car to help us as the driver in the cockpit extract the most out of it. And of course, you come to a new track and the team don't have any pre-historic sort of references, and I think overnight tonight the guys will improve the car quite a lot, and maybe we'll see some mega lap times on 350.
I'll let you get to your debrief. Thanks for stopping by. Cheers, thank you. All right, back to you guys.
Well, thanks very much, guys. Always good to hear from Jake Hughes. We thought we'd better come and chat to his old boss at McLaren, team principal here, Ian James. Ian, talk us through how that session went for you. Obviously, Sam Bird looking good, finished in P4. Taylor Barnard, it didn't go quite so well.
No, I mean, the Nissans are looking strong. And thankfully, we've got a couple of their powertrains in the back of our cars as well. So I think that bodes well at the moment. Early days after FP1, of course. As Sam does, just sort of built up through the session, which was great to see. Chipped away at the times. Taylor, we actually, I think, a little bit of finger trouble maybe on a 350 lap that turned into a 300 lap, and then we probably didn't manage the tyres as we could have done, so that put him on the back foot, but I'm not overly concerned.
And what's the feedback been from the drivers? Obviously, it's the first time for both of them racing here. It's a night race, which always adds its own level of excitement as well.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is going to be mega here. I've had the privilege of coming here for the F1 races right from the start, and I think that Jeddah puts those shows on very well indeed. Obviously, we've loved Diriyah over the past 6 years, and it's a shame not to be there, but at the same time, this is a completely different circuit, a completely different atmosphere, as I said. So now I think the excitement's building as the weekend progresses.
Yeah. Absolutely, guys.
You mentioned earlier in an interview with Saunders that you had a bit of rethinking before this weekend and you had some new ideas coming into this. Can you share some more? Is it setup? Is it strategy? Or what have you been working on?
I think that whenever something goes, well, after every event, you're always analysing and seeing what you can do better and differently going forward. And Mexico was particularly disappointing for us because, again, I think we felt that we had the performance and we just didn't get it all together on the day. So it gave us an opportunity to reflect on that. And I think that we as a team are very data-driven. I think that's a strength, but at the same time, if you're too data-driven, you lose sometimes the side of the big picture. So we've just taken a look at how we can divide and conquer in that way, structure things a little bit differently, and I'm confident that we've got things back in good shape.
So some driver instincts coming out this weekend.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The thing with this industry, this sport, it's relentless. So just give us an insight to how do you pep talk the team into, right, I know you gave 100% last time, but give a little bit more 100% next time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not always easy because you know everybody's giving it their all, and you can see the disappointment sort of creeping in once we've had a result like that. But it doesn't matter whether you've had a great result after a race or a poor result. At the end of the day, you've got to get over that very, very quickly indeed. And listen, these men and women here are consummate professionals. They've been here long enough to know that. So they're very adept at sort of hitting the reset button quickly and just focusing on that next event.
Excellent. Well, on that note, we will leave you to it. Good luck with the final bit of fine-tuning that we can see going on, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ian James. Right, let's go down to Karun and Saunders and find out where they are.
All right, let's have a little walk because let's talk about Nissan to begin with. You know, first and second in free practice. Oliver Rowland, the man, the myth, the legend, very much the man of the hour.
The man, the myth, the legend. I don't think I've ever heard anyone call him that, but yeah, he's been on top form, really. We've been saying for the last 18 months, he's been one of the standout drivers, really. So good to see him hit the ground running here once again, and Nato showing that the car's competitive as well.
I just find him exciting to watch because you never know what he's going to do. The strategy's there. He's aggressive in the best way.
Yeah, but he's aggressive in a controlled way. You know, you find drivers informally, we've seen over the last 10 years, drivers who've been aggressive, but almost too aggressive and a bit, you know, you can almost expect them going to bump people off and things like that. Rowland is aggressive, but not in a dirty way. And I think he's a very, very good racer.
Yeah, OK. Moving down the paddock now, we've got the two DS Penske's. It was 9th and 18th, the best they could do. And then the Porsche. I mean, do you see he's across the walk past us a moment ago? Didn't look that happy, did he?
No, he didn't. But they often turn it around, don't they? You know, they don't necessarily look great when it comes to free practice, but we have seen them have the ability to turn it around and dig out some performance when it matters in qualifying in the races.
This is the team I'm most excited to seeing how they deal with the not being able to double stack.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to strategy, we'll have to see. And finally, Jaguar, you know, another team who we'll see how they go. They're coming off a double non-score last time out in Mexico, but Maniki, we'll find out as the weekend unfolds just how they can turn those fortunes around this weekend in Saudi.
Indeed, it won't be long because tomorrow we have both qualifying and the first race of the weekend, the debut of Pit Bruce. Very quickly, who's going to be on pole position tomorrow in qualifying?
Rowland's on a roll.
Rowland's on a roll, we like it. He's rolling.
His teammate, Norman Nato, the Nissans are looking strong.
Oh. So you're going for NATO? Yeah. All right, well, there you have it. Find out who is going to be on pole position for the first time here in Jeddah. Join us for qualifying and race 1 as we go racing under the lights. See you then.